Buhari and his team has signed a power deal with a German company, Siemens, aiming to provide 7,000 megawatts of electricity in just 2 years. And the Inspector General of Police has been summoned by the president, and he met with the president over the violence incident in the aftermath of the Shiite protest in Abuja today in the nation's capital. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channel Television. I'm Sean Kimale. Well, we continue our countdown and monitoring of activities as the nation eagerly awaits the formation of President Buhari's cabinet. It is now 54 days since the inauguration of the government for a second term in office, and we await the formation of the president's cabinet. President Muhammadu Buhari has summoned the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, to the State House following protests by the Shiite group in the nation's capital, which turned bloody. The president asked the police chief to ensure that every Nigerian is protected and work to prevent a breakdown of law and order. The Inspector General spoke with State House correspondents after the meeting with the president in his office, gave an assurance that the situation has been brought under control.
Specifically, we brief him on the incessant coming out of this group of people protesting here and there, and we brief him on the fact that we've been able to curtail their excesses, and to let him understand that everything's under control. The president asked us to make sure we provide security for every citizen of this country, and not to leave any space that will some group of people will create a breakdown of law and order. So the charge by Mr. President is that we must provide security for every Nigerian. Thank you.
We have some trending political stories for you on our political roundup.
President of the Senate, Mr. Ahmed Lawan, is advocating for a dispute mechanism to address issues in the All Progressives Congress. Senator Lawan stated this at a meeting with the 36 state chairmen of the party in Abuja. The President of the Senate insists that the APC cannot afford any cracks in its walls at a time like this.
From our experiences in 2019 elections, or the processes leading to the elections, we need to have better dispute resolutions mechanisms.
Elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark is calling on the House of Representatives to rescind its decision to shut down the Edo State House of Assembly. He describes the action of the House of Representatives as unconstitutional, as the matter is before a court.
Ordering the shutdown within 1 week, asking the governor to rescind his proclamation. It's irregular. It's illegal.
Protesters from Imo North Senatorial District under the umbrella of Concerned Citizens of Imo North have stormed the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Abuja, demanding the issuance of a certificate of return to Senator Benjamin Uwajumogu. The Ben Uwajumogu campaign organization, Mr. Matthew Omegara, says there is a subsisting order of a federal high court directing INEC to issue a certificate of return to Senator Benjamin Uwajumogu as the duly elected senator representing Imo North Senatorial District. The Supreme Court has struck out an application by the All Progressives Congress, which asked the Apex Court to review the consequential orders of its earlier judgment on Zamfara governorship elections. In a unanimous ruling of the 5 panel of justices, led by Justice Bode Rhodes Viver, the Apex Court maintains that the application is incompetent, lacks merit, and should not have been brought before it in the first place. The Hope Democratic Party has closed its case at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. The tribunal resumed hearing today with the HDP opening its case challenging the election of President Muhammadu Buhari by calling its first witness, one Yusuf Ibrahim, who testified in support of the party's claim. The court accepted the position of the party and ordered the petitioners to file their final address within 2 days. The case has since been adjourned to August the 5th for parties to adopt their final addresses.
Well, it's now time for us to begin today's proceeding on the conversation on politics today. Everyone, get a seat. Well, you probably are watching this program using your generator set. Probably you are in your office where you heard the sound of a bigger generator set, or you are perhaps not sure of how you're going to charge your mobile phone or mobile device where you're watching the program as we speak presently. Or if you're lucky, maybe power has improved in your area. But there might be some good news. Over the last 20 years, anyone born perhaps in the last 30 years or so will be conversant with the word up NEPA. Well, that is the scenario where power goes off and it comes on and everybody screams up NEPA because of the incessant non-stability of electricity in the country. That's been a scenario that's played out over the years. A lot of us were born into that scenario where President Muhammadu Buhari has challenged German-based company Siemens Distribution and Transmission Company, as well as the Electricity Distribution Company of Nigeria, to work hard to achieve 7,000 megawatts of electricity by 2021 and 11,000 megawatts by the end of 2023. The president gave the charge during the signing of an electricity roadmap agreement with Siemens at the State House. The deal is the product of a meeting held between the President, Muhammadu Buhari, and the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, on the 31st of August 2018. Let's get talking, everyone. My partner tonight, I have an associate professor of electricity law, Dr. Yemi, here in the studio with me. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And we have an economist and the CEO of Financial Derivatives, Mr. Bismarck Ruwani. He joins us via Skype. Thank you so much, Mr. Ruwani, for coming on the program today. Interesting times. You've always talked about how the situation of the country is. Your preferred solutions on how these things can get better. But today, is it a good news that is coming to Nigerians or what?
Thank you very much for having me again. I'm sure, I just want to assume that I'm safe to talk now. The other time you came to interview me on here, and the immediate past Minister of Power, I don't want to mention names, took me up. Gladly Nigerians actually responded. So I'm not joining issues with him. And of course, we all can see his successes in good stories in office in the last 4 years. It's still the same thing. He did fantastically well in Lagos, but we're having challenges. Spent 4 years in this, how do we still the same story? I'm sure somebody will try to put it right now. But let me go straight to the issue. Fine. I'm cautiously pessimistic.
Why?
Thank you. This is about the 14th technical agreement or policy or roadmap we'll be having in the power sector. Unfortunately, that isn't time for me to relate out one after the other. The last, before the recent one, was the one being pioneered or being championed by the World Bank, and the Nigeria Labour Congress president invited me to come and be their technical person. And I said, this is not going to work. What we have is not an agreement. It's at best a roadmap agreement. Agreement as to what to be done, how to do it, timelines. That's not an agreement. One, from my home point of view, nobody has details. I hope this is not going to be another Manitoba transition management services agreement, transition management agreement that I kind of says some not too good things and all manifested at the end of the day. I'm not seeing any good signs yet, and the reason is this. The agreement signed, purportedly, I don't have the document in front of me, I don't have details as to figures, is, to me, flaws in 3 ways. It is technically flawed, operationally flawed, legally flawed. Let me start with operational. Now, the federal government can only effectively intervene in respect of TCN, transmission only, because the power sector is privatized. The generation aspect of it is privatized, the distribution is privatized. So the agreement the federal government is entering into with Siemens on whose behalf? Then, to do what? Is it on-grid generation? Is it off-grid generation? If it's on-grid generation, are we going to enhance the existing transmission lines? If it's off-grid, off-grid should go to the states. So how many of the state governments are now partnering with the federal government in this so-called roadmap agreement? Then, what really happened to the so-called attempt to privatize NIPP, Nigerian Power Holding Company, assets under the Data Power Holding PSA? Because those were power plants scattered all over the country, and they were meant to be put together for the purpose of being put up for sale. Nobody is willing to buy because your guess is as good as mine. Those who bought those entities, are they encouraging others to come on board? Are we having good stories to tell? Are there signs for them to come on board? What is happening to the existing persons who bought those entities? So it's still a lot of challenges.
Dr. Okay. Look at this. Let me quickly show our viewers perhaps a breakdown. We'll try to break it down for you to get a sense of what happened and went down today, so you can get a sense of what has happened based on the speech of the president, based on what the president said. We do not have the figure of what was agreed upon today, but what we know is what we will show you right now. The plan is that in 2 years, there will be generation of 7,000 megawatts of reliable power supply. That is what we understand. That's what we are hearing. In 5 years, or about 5 years, in 2023, 11,000 megawatts. That is the plan. And also the plan is to drive generation capacity and overall grid capacity to 25,000 megawatts. Let's go forward to what the other plans. The president did say some of his frustration are that power generation capacity is at 13,000 megawatts, but that the power that reaches out to Nigerians or consumers are just about 4,000 megawatts. In fact, sometimes less than that. With a peak power supply of 5,222 megawatts, there are constraints with the transmission and distribution systems. Now, the agenda is this, based on what we know. Siemens and Nigerian stakeholders to first focus on fixing the transmission and distribution infrastructure, especially around economic centers where jobs are created. Also, with reality of privatization constraints, Siemens will help on end-to-end plan to modernize their electricity grid. Let me bring in quickly Mr. Bismarck Rewining. From all of these plans, you are a boardroom guru. You are also an economist. You know the figures. You know how this thing plays out. From what has been broken down, Mr. Rewining, what are your fears and what are the positives?
First of all, the word reliable power supply, 7,000 megawatts of reliable power supply is at best ambiguous, in the sense that what we have today is peak power is about 7,000, stranded power is 4,000, what gets to the people is about 3,500. So if you are going to make it reliable, it means that the 7,000 megawatts that are being produced today has to be, of which 4,000 is stranded, has to get to the people.
When you say stranded, what do you mean, Mr. Rewining? When you say stranded?
There are gas constraints, there are grid constraints, at times there are hydro constraints. So even though you are generating, it's not getting to the consumers through the transmission network. So the transmission network has maximum capacity of about 5,000 megawatts at this point in time. Transmission investment takes time. The cables have to be laid all across the country. So if you are talking about getting power to the people, the first place to invest in simultaneously with increasing the grid output is transmission. And if that is done, then the distribution is about the bottlenecks, the meters, the transformers, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I share the anxiety and the problems which the other speaker mentioned, that I hope we are not going into this as just for optics, but there should be specifics as to what exactly is going to be done on the transmission process, which is 100% owned by the federal government of Nigeria. The Nigerian government also owns about 40% of the assets on the distribution. So what kind of financial burden sharing is going to take place, and what will the impact be? And in the final analysis, we are saying that after phase 1 and phase 2 and all the bottlenecks have been fixed, we are going to get to 25,000 megawatts. 25,000 megawatts is not enough for our population. You know, everybody knows that in South Africa, where they are even struggling right now, they have 45,000 megawatts for a population of about 50 million or less than 50 million people. We cannot have 200 million people and be satisfied in a number of years' time with 25,000 megawatts. It's not going to get us.
Mr. Ruwani, let me butt in for a moment. We'll take a break. The president did say something that is very interesting. We don't know the figures. Well, if there is a deal and there are no figures, you will break it down for us what that means. Dr. Yemioke is also here, and we're going to break down all of these for our viewers. If you're going to have power in your homes, that is good news, isn't it? But we're assessing how this can be possible. So it's not like all we have seen over the last few years. We'll take a moment. I'll be right back on the program. Stay with us. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. It's the issue of electricity that gets us talking. Dr. Yemioke is an associate professor of electricity law at the University of Lagos. Speaking on this matter, is perhaps one of those voices that you can reckon with when he talks about talking about energy and electricity in Nigeria. Mr. Bismarck Ruwani is an economist and the CEO of Financial Derivatives. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on tonight. Let me allow you to land on that thought, Mr. Ruwani. And the question I wanted to also add for you to answer is, we do not know the figure. We do not know what is costing the nation to get into these deals. Usually, that does not happen. The president, they say, is a government-to-government engagement, which is bringing Siemens into these deals. What do you make of this scenario when we see this kind of situation?
First and foremost, without cost, we cannot do a cost-benefit analysis. So we do not know whether the alternatives are better than what we are doing. So I think that's number one. Number two is that government-to-government transactions with a private company in the middle raises a number of questions that need to be asked. But you know, ultimately, the solution to Nigeria's power problems are two. One, new investments from the private sector in this sector. But more than anything else, nobody is going to invest if we do not have cost-reflective tariffs. Exactly. If the tariff structure is not settled, there will be no new investments. You are going to be having interventions are usually extraordinary measures taken during emergencies. You do not run a power sector based on emergency interventions. You run it based on normal business practices. So we must know the cost. We must know the cost per megawatt. We must know the alternative options that we have so we can compare to solar, hydro, any other. And then we must know exactly, in the end, people are going to have to pay for this. Are we coming back to cost-reflective tariffs? If we are not addressing that, it's only a question of time before we will get back to the same problems we are in today.
Perhaps what may come as a refreshing one is what the president said here. He said, I quote, "I'm therefore very pleased with the positive feedback from private sector owners of the distribution companies who have all endorsed government's intervention to engage Siemens on this end-to-end plan to modernize the electricity grid." Dr. Yemioke, the role of Siemens in this deal, according to President Buhari, is that they are committed to working with Nigeria to develop a feasible roadmap to modernize our electricity grid with support from the German government. Are you happy with that?
Honestly, I am. I'm very happy on paper. But this man creates a number of critical issues. We need to address that. One, funding. Which component of the power sector is being funded and who is funding what, at what cost? Two, are you externalizing the funding? Is it that invariably the consumers are going to pay? I will tell you the labor Nigerian workers are not ready for cost-effective tariff, except there is a kind of subsidy. And the law, Electric Power Sector Reforms Act, totally outlaws subsidy in the power sector, except subsidy indirectly through PICAF. Power Consumer Assistance Fund, I've said that on several.
Even when people pay per what
statutorily, there shouldn't be subsidy in the power sector, except through PICAF. PICAF is a kind of interventionist approach through designated funds to mitigate pricing tariff for low-income earners. So we need to fix that. With all this intervention, bilateral level, German, Nigerian government, money comes in. The money goes to which of the segment of the power sector? Is it the generation? Private sector. Distribution? Private sector. Transmission? Government-owned, essentially. The other one government still have is state here, but TCN is 100% government-owned. We need to determine that. So, two, the government mentioned alternatives, mentioned hydro, mentioned solar. The government didn't, the president rather didn't mention gas. Bismarck mentioned gas, which is crucial. Nigeria power sector is gas constrained, a whole lot of constraints. Then gas remains an essential component of power. Then when you talk of gas, you talk of gas pricing. For as long as it's commercially reasonable for me to export my gas through LNG, I'm not going to sell for domestic electricity.
Dr. Okay.
Yes.
Right now, we've been looking for the magic wand. We've been looking for the way out.
Yes.
We are constrained because the three phases of that power is being privatized. Now, the government has made a move. The move by this government, do you salute it?
I do. But my concern is still one. One, let's start the figures. And this is not the first agreement the government is going to sign on anyway. We've had a lot of government is government. Because even the Mambila wasn't something initiated by this regime. It's been an old project. But just hoping the government will conclude it. It's been on for up to 2 decades now.
Should Nigerians be happy?
Nigerians should be happy if you have the figures. How much is coming about, at what cost? The problem we have in the power sector, I mentioned it here. When they were privatizing those entities, Nigerian investors went to borrow money when dollar was about 150, 160 to a dollar. Now, you know the mathematics. And they are trading in a Naira-dominated market. So no matter the amount of investment, they will need to generate Naira to service their loan or pay off their loans in dollars. Now at, guess what, 360. Yeah. And then the only way they can recoup or break even is if the jack-up tariff cost reflective that Bismarck is talking about, and that's not going to happen in Nigeria, I can tell everybody. Cost reflective tariff, for as long as it's meant for Nigerians, labor will be forced to resist. So we have a bit of challenges there.
Yeah, and I hope that we'll be able to surmount it.
Honestly, I do.
For everyone that is watching me now, they want to put a stop to using generator. If you have lived some part of your life outside of this country, you'll be asking the question, what is so difficult? Let me allow Mr. Iwani to give his final thoughts on the program tonight because we need to close. Light on the end of the tunnel or what?
There is some light in the end of the tunnel. That we are talking about it's good news. But the thing is that cost-reflective tariffs will come because that is what people are paying. If you are working with your generator now, you are paying more than the cost-reflective tariffs you would have paid from public power supply. One. Two, there's no question about the fact that we need new investments in this sector. And those investments have to come in both public and private. So the government-to-government thing is all right, but we now need some new investments to carry us on. Because without power, productivity is going to be lower, and without higher productivity, we are not going to be able to achieve the output that is required. More important, the loans that we are talking about, the loans have come to a point where they are now excruciating. We now have to have a forbearance program where those loans can be converted into equity and the government can sell them at a discount to raise additional cash and dilute the ownership of guys who took those loans in the first place. If you don't deal with the debt burden and deal with the cost-reflective tariffs, change the rules, and ensure that government-to-government intervention comes in, you're going to have problems. That's the way I see it.
It's a long road, I guess. It's a marathon, not a 100-meter dash. But at the end of the day, Dr. Yemi, you've always talked with this for the better part of your life, and I hope that there will be some good news.
Honestly, Shun, my worry is this. I said here, I see, then I said it, I foresee, and I still do. I foresee a situation in which the power sector, for it to work, will go through another chain of reacquisition and refinancing. I said it in this studio, and it's confirming it.
We need to
maybe this settlement agreement is indirectly going to lead to the acquisition
okay,
and the financing, because we really need money on the table to make it work.
But my prayer right now, I will turn into a prayer man, is that power will change in Nigeria. Thank you so much, Mr. Bismarck.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yannick, for coming. Well, that's our show for today, and we do hope that you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.